So welcome. It is round number 7 of our Formula Renault 3.5 V8, proudly brought to you by VX Gaming, NASCAR, and Deliver Your Parcel. And with me in the commentary box this evening, I have Stephen Darge. How are you, sir? Absolutely fantastic. And then to everyone who is currently listening in, we have a very special guest that has joined us this evening. Ernest Page, good evening. No, absolutely fantastic. It's so great that our paths were able to cross and we able to show you some Project Cars 2 racing on console. No, don't worry. I'm sure between myself and Stephen, we'll be able to help you with the drivers. But let's just get on to the drivers briefing. Gentlemen, round number 7, we are at Imola. The weather is fine. And please just remember, the first couple of corners are an absolute nightmare. Just ensure that you offer enough space to those around you. Let's have some absolutely fantastic driving. Let's get those thumbs up, and we'll be racing in the next minute or so. Thank you very much, Terry. You were the last one to do so. Let's go.
A quick breakdown of this evening's action coming to you live from the Imola circuit, the famed circuit in Italy, officially known as the Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari circuit, named after, of course, the legendary creator of Ferrari cars, Enzo Ferrari, and his son, Alfredo Ferrari. And this is a FIA Grade 1 circuit. The amazing thing about it is that it doesn't actually hold any F1 races. It does, however, hold World Touring Car races. It is part of the Le Mans series, and the Superbike World Championship do take place. Races in those championships do take place here as well. It is an incredible circuit, one of the fastest around, and it is also one of the prettiest.
Well, look, I have spent a couple of laps around here, and Ernest, you're not going to believe this, but when you did your wonderful introduction, your voice wasn't coming through, but it seems like the levels are buzzing as we wanted them. So if you just want to say, how's it to everybody?
Yes, how's it? Hi there. Let's try that again.
Yes.
I'm excited to watch some racing. I'm pumped to be here. The visuals look amazing. The cars are stunning and fast. And yeah, I'm excited to see some wheel-to-wheel racing. I might babble on for a little bit because I really get quite excited when I do a new car activity. So this is quite fun for me.
Well, there's some amazing, these cars are amazing, as you say. The fact is, they are just 623 kilograms in weight, but they produce an amazing 530 horsepower. And that's quick. That makes for a really, really quick Formula One look-alike car. In fact, these things are regarded as being training wheels, as you will say, for Formula One. They are, of course, powered by a 3.5-litre V8 sourced from either Nissan or Renault. And they are quite amazing. Really, really amazing little cars.
Yeah, the power-to-weight ratio in these things must be just absolutely phenomenal. And the fact that you guys run without ABS or traction control, it can't be easy out there.
Now look here, what we like to do is we like to run it as authentic as possible. So we forced realism into all the cars. So in some of the other championships, if there's been ABS or traction control, we offer it to the guys. But I must say, a lot of the guys will opt not to use the traction control. But I'd say if I could get just a little bit of ABS in this car, I think I'll be driving it a lot better.
Yeah, the ABS on this, without ABS on these cars, it's always a nightmare. And I mean, that you're not going to get a single-seater with ABS unless it's something ultra-modern. But I'm not even sure if anybody's running ABS on any single-seater series, to be honest. But
no,
it's not something you want. But in the sim, it's more difficult to feel where the brake sort of maximum brake pressure is, or where the wheels lock up, and all those kind of things. So it's the ABS. I would want it too.
So, gents, while the guys are doing their current outlaps, let's just run through what's happening in the current positions in the standings. So we can see that Sly Pete, he's right at the top there with 296 points, and he's just about got this championship wrapped up. Vaughan Hills had a very late charge up in the series. He's currently in second place. Colin for Ninko, he was up there at the top, but anything can still happen between Colin and Vaughan. Paul, he's also moved up there in time with Pierre. So I'd say that's third place. Let's add, I was going to say add Dane in there as well, but I see that Dane, he's actually on the live stream having a little bit of connection issues this evening. But we could essentially have 4 drivers competing for that third place. With today being round number 7, next week round number 8, and we'll basically wrap up this championship. So still lots and lots to race for here at the Bravo tier round number 7.
You see the cars going around over here. Something that you might not know, Ernest, is the way that these cars are set up in the game is with full mechanical damage allowed. Now, on a stream, you can't necessarily see all of the physical damage that occurs, but what you will notice is that these cars are incredibly fragile. Even a slight touch, and as you will know in open wheel racing, should I say, can result in some rather spectacular fireworks on track.
Yeah, indeed.
And unfortunately, it does mean that in a lot of little altercations between these cars, front splitters go missing, and where the incident is perhaps a little bit more hectic, wheels go missing too.
Yep. When single-seater wheels touch, cars tend to go in opposite directions, don't they?
It's worse than Annandale intersection on the N1 on a Monday morning when a billion other people decide to crash into each other. This is exactly the kind of result that we have when these cars do touch. It can produce some amazing visuals, to say the least. Oh wow, there you go. There's a good example.
That was a great catch there by Andrew Horn. Coming out of turn number 5 there, just too much on the inside curb, touch that outside. I'm pretty surprised. We can see in the background there, that's Terry Wolford, Andrew's teammates, getting that a little bit wrong there, coming back up from the hairpin, excuse me.
So we can see now the first lot of times are on the board, and you can see just how much of a gap is between Pete and Andrew, between first and second there. That's 2 seconds. Whoopsie. I don't know who just went off track, just off camera there. Somebody may have been deciding to cut the chicane just a tad. The point is that Peter is a really, really quick driver. Not to say that the others aren't quick, but they will need to put a few more times on the board. There is still 4.5 minutes left of this practice session, and they will need to make themselves move around that track very, very quickly to put some better times up there. But then look at the gap between the drivers in second, third, and fourth.
Oh my goodness.
Now, including fifth. That's very, very tight. That's less than 500ths of a second between those 4 drivers. In fact, it has now gone down to 3, with Andrew posting a very quick 1 minute 30.3. Oh dear.
Yep.
And straight back to the pits, just so you don't waste any other time on the lap. You'll come back out and go around again to make sure you've got as much time in the session as possible to get as quick a time as possible on the board as well. You'll see at the very bottom, drivers in the 12th, 13th and 14th position. There we go. Donovan has just managed to put a time on the board of 1 minute 47. So these guys are slowly putting their times on the board, nailing their colors to the mast, and deciding how the good will look when we do the final race, or the actual race in this Bravo tier section, in about 4 minutes time from now, I'd say.
Yeah, well, we got about 4 minutes, because we'll go into the holding lobby. The guys will then have an option to reload their setups. A lot of the guys running a qualifying setup as well as a race setup. The guys will have taken as much fuel as possible out of the cars. They would have reduced their brake ducts as well as the engine intake in terms of the radiator. Run the car as near to overheating as possible to get the maximum straight line speed, and then all of those settings will be opened up for a race setup.
Well, your championship leader there seems to have things sewn up a little bit, at least by zero point 0.5 of a second. That's a solid gap that he's got there to what looks like, I think that's the Horn Dog in second position.
Yep.
And third place now, a further 1.6 seconds back. So the two front guys, they seem to have separated themselves a little bit, at least with a couple of minutes left to spare.
What we have found, though, is qualifying pace versus race pace is two very different things.
Absolutely. These guys are quietly confident at this stage because they're able to get out of the pits and give themselves a little bit of space. Pete's having a bit of an off. They're able to give themselves a little bit of space, and that means that they can at least put in some good times. But the moment you get that washing machine effect coming into the first turn on lap number 1, that is where the decider happens. That sees who goes out into first place as well.
Yeah, lap number 1, I'm sure, is going to be action-packed. And as you said earlier on with these single-seaters, the drivers need to be pinpoint precise on that first lap to make sure that everybody comes through cleanly. There can't be argy-barging. And if there is, it needs to be wheel face to wheel face or wheel to pod exactly. That's all that's going to be allowed. Anything else is catastrophic. So the nerves, I think the nerves would be a very real thing going into the start of this race, surely.
No, I must say that just in terms of the space that the guys were giving in the previous race was really, really great. They are understanding that the guy in front of you is going to brake sooner than you would on your normal race pace braking marker, and they're allowing that space because that concertina effect, man, it can cause 3, 4, 5 cars damage, and then all of a sudden your race of 14 drivers is down to just about 10. But I must say, we have had some incredible comebacks with guys crawling back to the pits with just 3 wheels, getting that repaired, and managing to still find themselves up in a 7th or 8th place.
Yeah.
Someone I'm looking forward to seeing tonight is going to be Tyler Scott. Last week, we'll know, during his race, his connection dropped out, unfortunately. And what an interesting thing that happened is that it left his car in the middle of the track.
Yes.
Luckily, it wasn't a solid obstacle. Very, very luckily. So guys were at least able to drive through it. But the problem is that he has got everything to do tonight to try and take him back up the order. He's sitting in 9th place in the championship standing at the moment with 120 points. He's tied with Andrew, the Horn Dog SA, also at 120 points. So there might be a bit of a battle between those two right now. Having a look at the man who is second on the championship standings at the moment, that is your guy on screen right now. That is Vaughan Hills. One half of the Hills duo. His brother Brandon normally takes part in the Alpha Tier standings and the Alpha Tier racing. That will be coming up a bit later. But Vaughan Hills had an incredible race last week. Ouch. Commentators curse. There we go.
Yeah. As soon as the commentators speak of someone's prowess, this usually happens. And it's a real thing, isn't it?
No, listen,
really is.
Peter Heidemann has come to us so many times to say, will you please stop watching me? Because every time we've watched him, he's landed up hitting a curb and putting it into a wall.
The commentators curse, as you say, Steve.
Noticing where he is in those timings right now, 1 minute 31.5. He had an incredible comeback last week, and maybe he can do the same this week because that puts him very, very firmly in the middle of the grid. And that, especially coming down to turn 1, is where all of the action happens. That really is who decides is anybody who's going to come out of there alive. And with all wheels intact, with all spoilers intact, and with no mechanical damage, that will be the decider. So that is qualifying complete. We are waiting for the last few guys to put their times out, including Pierre. There we go. He's back into the pits. And we are now awaiting the start of the race. There are your standings coming out of the qualifier. In first, it is Peter. Something to be expected, I would presume, with a 1 minute 29.7. In second, you have Andrew the Horn Dog with a 130.3. And in third, it is Tranbury Hill with a 130.4. That should be an excellent start for those 1, 2, and 3. Fourth is Colin coming in with a 1 minute 31.3. Paul is in fifth at a 131.4, and Vaughan Hills, man, in second. We were just talking about him, the 131.5.
I'm actually quite surprised to see Pierre down in 7th place because normally he's up there with Pete. Then Robert, he's in 8th place with Tyler Scott in 9th. Peter Brunt, he's in 10th place with Morris in 11th. Donovan down in 12th with Richard Berner in 13th and Terry down in 14th place.
So Richard Berner is a brand new entrant to the racing tonight. I think we're going to see what he can give us. I'm quite interested to see what his driving style is going to be like. We haven't seen him in previous races. Who is he standing in for, Dylan?
So Richard's actually joined the guys from the BRM guys. So they're called Budget Racing Midvol. They've got their own little series that they run there, and it's Morris who's basically brought himself, Peter Brandt, Richard, as well as Rolf, who should have been here this evening, but he unfortunately was sent to a call out.
Pity. Work must come first.
And we see Sean van der Linde. He has joined us on the stream. Sean, sorry to hear that you're still not well. We hopefully have you back next week. But alle van die beste, sterkte man. But so awesome that we see you here supporting your Rough Riders team. Really great to see. Some others that have joined us, Brandon Hills, he's obviously saying a Lego for Vaughan, as well as, hey, got one wall and all there. I think we should start calling Vaughan that. Alex, he's here. He will be racing later for the Rough Riders. He would have been partnering up with Sean, so Alex will have to take on the guys there on his own. Morris, he's watching. Good luck, guys. We'll see Morris later on. And Dane, sorry to see that you're not racing. That's your second race in a row where, unfortunately, you have not been able to join us. So that is the sinking complete. We should have 3 red lights. That is green, and we're racing here at Imola as the guys head down through turn number 1, going up towards turn number 2. This is where we will see some sort of concertina effect. But Sly Pete is through safely. So is the Horn Dog. So is Antonio. Colin, he's in 4th place. Ooh, he's dropped down with Paul Fenter being able to get around him. He's moved up into 4th place. Piers up to 6th. And Brandon Bugger Vaughan, he's in 7th place.
You'll get it eventually, don't worry. That was a relatively clean start, actually. I didn't see any of the expected fireworks in mid-order. I am going to touch wood at the moment, though, to make sure that it doesn't happen further down the lap. These guys are at least trying to space themselves out a bit. You can see the first gaps coming through there. There's still going to be a little bit of a battle emerging for 2nd and 3rd there. He's already starting to open that gap.
And what we're not seeing is normally on that first corner, we'd see a driver dropping down, which means there was probably some sort of contact. But we're not seeing that, so that is absolutely great to see. Oh, that was the Horn Dog taking lots of curb there. I hope that hasn't damaged that front wing, as we see Antonio being able to go around the outside of the Horn Dog down into turn number 14. A little spin of the rear there. Locking up those rears, but managing to get around. He must just be careful as he rejoins the track.
Oh no, such a good performance in qualifying and the start, and unfortunately now it just takes one mistake, doesn't it? It really does, and you fall all the way down the order. But it's going to be interesting. Yeah, very twitchy. They seem so, and it's interesting. I'll be interested to see how he claws his way back up. He's obviously got the pace to mix it up with the guys in front. So we're going to see. I think we're going to see a bit of a change.
Wow, that was a big off. Let's see. That was Tyler Scott involved in that one. Number of cars through there. Who else was involved there? That's Richard Berman seems to have made it through fine. Who else was involved there? Tyler Scott has dropped right down now. Shame. That's a really bad start for him.
So what I'm seeing is I don't see any front wing damage, but it might have been just a clip of the rear, and that's going to give him some rear suspension damage. So we might see him having to come in. But just remember, each of the drivers will have to do a pit stop. So this would be a perfect time for him to come in and take that pit stop. And we know that the tire wear on this track is not very abrasive. So he might be able to go in, do his pit stop, and then find himself some pace later on and move himself up the field when the other guys go through the field.
Shame that, that looked like a bit of a hard hit, and the car does look damaged. The car looks like it's crawling a little bit. The wheel left rear looks a bit askew there. So
You can
I'll be
see that
interested to see
car
these
is definitely twitching left and right. You're right.
Yeah. Yep. It's
So
unfortunate we don't have instant replays here. I'd love to go back and see exactly what happened there. But it looked like somebody clean forgot to apply the brakes, or was a little bit late in doing so. Possibly had a lock up his front wheels and then went careening into the front.
Can we just jump there to 6th place, please? Because I see there are about 4 cars together there. That's what I was looking at. So that right there,
now we got
guys,
ourselves a race,
that is BRM Racing
ourselves a race.
versus Racing Boots. As they are now coming to turn number 2 on board with Peter Brandt, chasing Donovan out of turn number 4. And I know that Donovan was saying he was batting to get this corner, so I just hope that Peter is able to see him. He was changing his line. Peter goes to the inside.
Wow.
Very nice.
So a great maneuver there, being able to, because what was happening is that Donovan was saying he wasn't comfortable just gearing down going into turn number 5 and then applying the brakes. So he was braking before and then rather getting the run out. But as you can see that Peter Brandt was able to get that maneuver on him by saying exactly what Donovan was worried about.
I'll tell you what, Donovan will certainly be looking to come back with a bit of a vengeance. I did see him coming quite close to Peter's rear there, and I think that will be a battle for the rest of the race, especially for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th by the looks of it. Let's scroll down now to Vaughan Hill and see how he's doing. Yeah, he's just behind. He's got a lot of work to do if he wants to catch up. A little bit off the pace by the looks of it. I wonder if he hasn't got some damage on board. We will see when he comes in for the mandatory pit stop.
No, what I think is happening, the guys are... Oh!
That's Donovan.
Donovan went a little bit wide going into turn number 14. And what I think is happening, the guys are just driving so cautiously not to have any contact. And by doing that, he's now allowed Andrew Horn to get a right up behind him. And a message, rightly so. Great maneuver on the inside. Let's see if he's going to get him on the brakes into turn number 2. So he will get Donovan, but the Horn Dog won't be able to get ahead of Vaughan. Finally got it right, Brandon. A message here from Marius on the stream saying it is very difficult behind someone in this track, and we can definitely see that as we saw some smoke. Oh, I thought there was going to be a spin there.
Let's change tack a little bit and look at what's going on with Colin. He's just pulling himself out of the pits. He has got a time penalty. I am keen to see exactly how big that time penalty is while he's driving himself down pit lane. We'll be able to have a quick look here.
10 seconds.
See where that is.
That's speeding into the pits.
10-second time penalty. Oh dear. So he's decided to take his pits a little bit early, and the result is that he came in perhaps a bit hot. And a 10-second penalty, that is no joke.
So while the guys are racing here, I just wanted to chat to you just quickly there, Ernest. Just tell us quickly about performance with Paige. What must the guys do? How do they follow you?
Yeah, look, I've got a bunch of platforms where I do mostly car reviews and things like that, and test drives of cars and fast cars mostly.
Yep.
Production cars, modified cars, all sorts of cars. I just really like driving cars, and I've been lucky enough to now be able to do it for a living. So I test drive cars mainly, and that's kind of my main sort of channel, Performance with Paige. But I've done driver training since 2005, and I raced single-seaters a couple of years ago as well, and worked at many of the driver training facilities. And with the sim phenomenon now, I'm starting to do some coaching, and I love it. I love it. So I'm just, our paths crossed through another channel, and that kind of just brought me here.
100%.
So it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting for me to see the PlayStation side of things as well, because I'm mainly busy on the Xbox and PC side at the moment. But that's basically what I'm up to at the moment. And I do lots of commentary as well. I commentate for the 80K Pro Series.
Yep.
And that's why, again, I miss being in the commentary box. And it's nice to be able to visit you guys here and come hang out for a little bit,
100%. And more than welcome. We'll have you any day. And I'm so glad that you were able to join us. And just having a look at... Yeah, Sly Pete starting to pull away from the rest of the pack. And just looking down at second place, so that is Antonio. He's managed to get himself ahead of Robert up to third place. So I did see that it was Paul Fenter was up there, and I see he's now down into 11th, so I'm not sure whether there was a little mistake there. But now, unfortunately, Paul down in 11th. We see that is Antonio now going into the pits, so he's going to start dropping down. There must have been contact there. You see Paul doesn't have a front wing there. So I'm thinking there might have been some contact between Paul and Antonio as Antonio going into the pits. So Paul will now have to go there, and that is one of the challenges. Following so closely, and it is just not even that split second of somebody on the brakes in front of you, and the car carries so much speed, and that could possibly ruin your race.
Yeah, the race, the consequences of racing closely with these cars, it's so high. And when you lose that front wing, it's a totally different car. So it's not something that you can drive around in these cars. You need all the downforce that you can get. So the punishment for a mistake in these cars, they're so unforgiving it on their own, but now you're surrounded by 13 other guys.
Yeah, most definitely.
Things sometimes go wrong, you know.
Absolutely.
Stephen, just give us third place there, because I'm seeing that's Marius Jacobs. He's in third position. So he's doing absolutely fantastic there, and he's got Vaughan behind him, and Peter Brandt, the other BRM driver, just ahead of him. So right now it is the Rough Rider Sly Pete out in front, and then it is 2 and 3 is the BRM 1 guys.
There's some very fine racing turning out here tonight. Bravo Tier delivering what they deliver best, and that is fine driving.
And I see that Pierre's putting a whole bunch of pressure behind Vaughan. You might have had the DRS open. Will you have a look to the inside here? Turn number 2. No, he does not. He's not close enough. So now it's all about just being patient, finding the opportunity.
Will that opportunity present itself now? No, but if Pierre keeps that pressure on, I can see he seems to be struggling with connection issues by the looks of it. But if Pierre keeps that pressure on, there's absolutely no doubt that Vaughan Hills is going to be very acutely aware of the fact that Pierre is not far behind. And we have seen some fantastic driving from Pierre in the past. It is a pity that his connection has let him down on a number of occasions. So hopefully tonight might just be Pierre's night, because Vaughan is not a slouch. So, will it be? We've got 29 minutes and 10 seconds to find out whether Pierre can move himself up the order and possibly to a podium finish.
Oh my gosh.
Ouch.
Oh,
That was a big hit. And ouch.
oh my goodness.
No, so
I
honestly think that looked like there was a bit of a lag bubble there, because that was so strange. All of a sudden, that car just flew up into the air. Definitely not something that would happen. And if he had hit him, he would have lost his wing completely. So that does not make sense to me at all.
No.
Yeah, unfortunately, with these things being online, you know, you have these sort of glitches here and there. We have that as well with all the online stuff that I do. But unfortunately, a couple of them came off second best there.
Yeah.
One of them, I think. Who didn't? No, that was Vaughan. Oh no. Vaughan has lost both of his back wheels. That is him. That is him out. That is an enormous pity. That's the end of his race.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to be getting anywhere from there. But guys, as you could see, that Pierre was probably about 2 car lengths away from Vaughan going into turn number 11. So there should not have been a reason why there would have been the touch there. So very strange. But what I'm seeing now, so Vaughan is still saying they're still in 9th place.
Well, interestingly enough, I think we've lost 2 drivers. I'm looking at the order. We did start with 14. I am trying to look through to find out who we have lost. So
Terry is one of them.
That is unfortunately a fairly common occurrence with Terry. He seems to either have bad luck with the car or to have bad luck with his internet connection.
And the other driver I'm not seeing is the Horn Dog. So it is Andrew Horn and Terry, who have both disconnected.
a big pity. That's Rough Riders number 3 out of contention.
So I think what we can do, we
the
can just
Harvard.
jump off Vaughan, because we are missing some of the other racing action here. Sorry, Vaughan, that is not what we want to see.
And then, of course, there's Sly Peter here that is just galloping off into the distance on his own.
And rightly, all he
Absolutely.
needs to do is just get those
Big gap.
laps in, bring it home, and he has been extremely dominant in this championship.
I do suspect, though, that he hasn't gone into the pits yet. Dylan, I don't know if you've been keeping your list, but has Peter entered the pits for his mandatory stop yet?
So I must say that I haven't, but thanks for reminding me. I'll definitely bring that up for the Alpha tier.
So I'm looking at that gap, 36 seconds. I think everybody else is pitted, which means that there may well still be some time left to play with here when it comes to Peter, if he still needs to go into the pits. What I am hoping is that Vaughan's car is cleared off the track. He will need to retire from the race.
Yeah.
And once he does, his name will disappear from the order there on
What
the
it will-
top left-hand corner of
what
the
it will do-
screen. Soulless car from the track.
Yeah, it will just his name will just stay there, but you'll see that the time will run down. So Vaughan's actually jumped onto the stream here on the YouTube and saying he's out, lag. He got smashed on the back.
That's a pity.
Vaughan, yeah,
Oh.
man, if you go and have a look at that, you'll see that Pierre was possibly about two car lengths away from you. And all of a sudden your car just took off. I might actually use that for one of the replays. So watch the space. Coffin dance coming for you, Vaughan.
Well, so far, it looks like Sly Pete really is in the league of his own, with the last lap being 4 seconds faster. Now the
Yes.
gap has dropped to 3.2 seconds, but previously there was a 4-second gap per lap between him and second place. So I think that time might be legitimate,
Yep.
because he's literally compounding all that time together quite quickly, lap after lap.
I do see that's where that Vaughan's car is still in the track there. That might be a very similar thing that happened to Tyler. Just jumped to 4th and 5th place. Please see Donovan is having a little bit of pressure from Tyler Scott behind him in 5th place. And there's Tyler coming out of turn number 4.
I'm hoping that Tyler Scott can put in a fantastic performance tonight, even if it is only taking out a sign on the way in. That might actually do some damage. That is a stationary object on the side of the track. Actually mean that he's done some damage to that front splitter. There is a possibility. Hopefully that isn't the case, because I'm sure he will be trying every move in the book to move up the order. He's going to have to get past Donovan, and as Dylan said last week, if you have somebody behind you and you're coming into the closing stages of a race, you can make your car seem very wide.
Yes.
And
You can
it
ask
may
Ross.
seem that
Myself
Donovan's
and
gonna try
Ross.
that move exactly.
Myself and Ross have had massive battles where it's all about just putting your car in the right places.
Absolutely. And that appears where it appears to be the big battle right now between 4th and 5th Donovan and Tyler, and also between Richard and Colin down in 5th and 6th. Sorry, I beg your pardon, 6th and 7th. Pornography filter there on the camera for whatever reason. And we'll see, there it is, coming down the hill.
Oh, that's
down the
a
hill.
little bit of
Why
a...
they
Yep, that's going to cost him.
one wheel on the grass, and as soon as the outside tire touches the grass over there, you're gonna lose grip. The car's gonna wash wide, and that's gonna be the end of that. He loses momentum now on the inside.
Oh.
Yep.
It's taken there the inside.
So Colin will have had that DRS open. You can just see the effects of that. Colin getting the drive out of the corner, having that DRS open, and basically pulled just about 4 car lengths away from Richard.
Well, these guys they're not scared to get a little bit close and personal, definitely not. And that's what you want to see, though. You want to see the guys racing, you want to see the guys pushing on. And pushing on is exactly what this burner racing car does.
Wow.
Runs wide, almost into the wall. It touches the wall there. Is that going to cause damage, Dylan? That slight touch over there?
I don't think that would have. But I'll
Well,
say
that's
that
good news then.
it might even be like a 10% damage, but it was literally just that slight little bump. But I just
Well,
wanted to
then,
remind you,
luckily-
Ernest, it seems like you've been having such a great time, but you did say that you would have had to run by 8:30, so you've given us an extra
Yes.
6 minutes. So thank you very much for that. I hope you've enjoyed your visit here. We've really have enjoyed having you with us.
Now I've lost track of the time here. I'm loving the racing. It's still a bit. I apologize for not knowing the names. I'm trying to figure out who's who in the zoo here. But the racing itself hasn't disappointed. The guys are good. The guys are fast. And we love watching racing because we also want to see some action. So these guys definitely brought some action. So thanks for that. And thanks for having me. And thanks for the good show, man. Steve, it's been a pleasure working with you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's one last thing I can say, I have been looking at your Facebook page in between watching the screen, and that is at Performance with Page on Facebook. It looks like a fantastic page at that, and I'm looking very keenly at a Ford Escort, a 10-second Ford Escort with an enormous spoiler and some enormous rear wheels. And that looks like it must have been an enormous amount of fun. So what I would appeal to everybody out there, do go have a look on Facebook at Performance with Page and have a good time on there, because there's an incredible variety of cars. And I think Ernest has got some fantastic things in store to come, no doubt.
Yeah, I've been quite lucky that I like all sorts of motorsport, and I do all sorts of motorsport. So I've raced single seaters, I've done drag racing, I commentate drags, drift. So I just like all sorts of car stuff. So I've combined that on a channel. If you guys like all sorts of cars like I do, please feel free to come visit and say hi. So thanks again for having me, guys. I really appreciate it, man. Awesome.
Ernest, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers.
Yeah. You were hearing there from Ernest Page, and he is one of a bunch of prominent South African motoring journalists. He has his own hand in racing. He has his own hand in online racing too. And you can find him on Facebook, that page again, at Performance with Page. No doubt he has got some presence on Instagram and probably on Twitter as well. So just go and have a look for him there. Ernest Page is the man's name. And we hope that he will be able to join us next week. I'm sure Dylan will make the necessary arrangements. And then maybe we can get a bit more time out of him next week too.
No, 100%. We'll definitely have a look at. Let's jump to 5th place. Colin and Tyler having an absolute little crack of a battle there. So great to see that these guys are still battling it out there. Really cool to see that Colin is still hanging in there for Daycall Racing. Unfortunately, Dane are not with us, but Colin looking quite comfortable in the 5th place now. He seems to be opening just that little bit of a gap away from Tyler now. And Pete in the pits, lap number 13. We will have Peter Bunt closing up on him. 10 seconds now. That pit stop is now complete, with Peter Bunt now going into the pit. So he's now just dropped a place down to Pierre. So interestingly enough is that that battle for 2nd and 3rd is still very much on. And we have just under 20 minutes to go.
I wonder if Tyler is aware of the damage to his car, because he is dropping. Oh, look, right behind him. Who is that just behind him? It can't be Richie Berman.
No, so that is Antonio, who's actually looks like he might be a lap down. But yeah, Antonio is down in 11th place.
I see a number of drivers have got the penalties at the moment. Let's have a quick look and see what those penalties are. You can see Tyler Scott slowing right down. He's not going to get no speeding into the pits penalty there. While he's heading in, let's have a quick look. Wow, there it is. Colin with a 10-second penalty, as has Donovan. And Paul coming in with a 1-second penalty. I wonder what the cause of that is.
Yeah, that could have just been running wide at one of the corners. I know specifically going out of turn number 12, out of that chicane, the runoff there is so tight, and the penalties there are extremely rough. Turn number 3 also, turn number 6 also doesn't do you any favors. If you run a little bit wide there, that will most definitely give you a couple of seconds. As we've just seen, another 10-second penalty come up there for Richard.
Ooh. Oh yes,
so that is Colin, Donovan and Richard all finding themselves with a 10-second penalty.
That's very unfortunate. That will have a big role to play when it comes down to the finishing order, and we'll have to see what kind of impact it has, an actual impact, because it can mean a number of swapping of places, and the potential for that can be quite large when it comes to the point standing as well. Tyler keeping those penalties away from him, luckily enough. I'm hoping that he can move up the order a little, but I am rooting for him a bit after that poor events of last week when his connection just dropped and he was doing so well. So hopefully tonight he can switch that around. The gap has closed quite significantly between Pierre and Sly Pete up in first and second. I thought that would be the case. Peter's obviously had a pit stop.
Yeah, we did
meaning
see
that
we did
Pierre,
see Peter go in, and at that same time, Peter Brunt, he went in. So Peter Brunt down into fourth place. He's got 20 seconds on Colin. So I just wish that I'd done what I did last week and kept track of those pit stops. But with Pierre up into second place, that is really great points here for the Rough Riders. And once again, the Rough Riders 3, previously TA Motorsport, they are pointless once again.
It's a very big pity. But there will be more racing to come, with this race being the 7th in the series of 8. Fortunately, there won't be any chances for them to recover, but in the subsequent leagues, who knows?
So Pierre, he's in the pits. He's going to have Colin closing up on him.
There he goes.
So
in fact,
there goes Colin. So Colin,
now.
I might just get past him. Or we can hear that Pierre's just spun his wheels out of the pit. So he will be down into third place. Colin now up into second.
Big pity. That is most likely the single pit stop that both Colin and Pierre had to do. Although I suspect Colin did a pit stop earlier as well. Seeing where Colin was on the qualifying standings, it's a nice move up the order for him.
Yep, most definitely. Let's just jump down to 8th place. We see that Marius is closing up onto the back of Tyler Scott. So Tyler within 1 second of... Well, Marius is within 1 second of Tyler as they come into turn number 14. Yes, tricky little corner. I just wasn't comfortable in second gear. Third gear just felt like that the car was just bogging down. But now Marius will have that DRS wide open as they go through turn number 16. A little kink here through turn number 17. And now into turn number 1. So that start-finish straight gained Marius about 0.3 of a second. So I'm sure the guys for the Alpha Tier will be watching that with great intent, just to see what sort of advantage that they are able to get over the competitors in front. You can see Tyler was a little bit wide there, and that's where you can start picking up just a couple of those little second penalty here, second penalty there. Now they'll go back up the hill. This is one of my favorite corners, now into turn number 8. And this one, for the life of me, I could not get this right. Down into turn number 9. I was trying to gear down. The car felt so loose, but then up onto the inside curb through turn number 10. You can see a little kick off the curb there for Tyler as he approaches turn number 11.
See, in the interim, we have lost one more driver. I am going through the list as we speak to see who we have lost.
So down into turn number 14, Tyler corrects the mistake that he had made the last time round. Nice and tight out of 15. And you can see that he's now been able to pull himself a little bit of a gap away from Marius. That gap now up to a 1.6 seconds, and Tyler now in 5th place.
You know what? We've just lost Pierre. We have unfortunately lost Pierre. That is a big pity. That's a very big pity. He was doing very, very well. That was Marius. Oh no. A second spin.
Little mistake there for
gonna
Marius.
be,
Yep.
he's gonna need to catch up. I can tell you right now that Paul is going to be catching up at a rate of not. There he is. There he is now. So instead of being on the chase of Tyler, Marius is going to have to worry about being chased by Paul.
Oh, Paul wanted to have a little look on the inside there. Just managed to get Marius running a little bit wide and has allowed Paul to go through. So Paul now up into 7th place.
By the looks of it, Marius may be suffering from some excess material on his tyres, having gone into the kitty litter, which means that you'll have to try and work that material off. And if it's become embedded in those tyres, then you won't be able to. That will require a tyre change. Seeing that Marius is dropping down the order, I suspect it's not only tyres that suffered some kind of damage there. Oh, very, very wide. Very wide for Paul. In that Marius catching up a little bit of a gap.
And that's where the time penalties on that exit there. I just love the way the suspension works. So the guy's coming down that little dip just before turn number 14. Now Marius can get that DRS open. He should be able to get a bit of a slipstream advantage. We'll see the current distance between them, 0.6. It is not really go. There we go. Now starting to go the other way. So Marius will be able to close down ever so slightly, but not more than a 100th of a second there that he gained. Just over 10 minutes to go. So I'm sure there's a wing on the outside there. Just over 10 minutes to go. So I'm sure the Alpha tier guys are starting to get ready. The invites should be coming out just now. We will be heading off there to watch. Whoa, that is Donovan.
That's a big pity.
So that's Donovan trying to get this car home. He is currently down in 8th place with just 3 wheels, so not what he would have wanted at all.
I know.
And he still has
an extra. You know where the scooter came from now, at least.
Yep. I was wondering how that was still there, but a very far way for Donovan to go. But we have seen the likes of Dane driving that car out of turn number 1 at Silverstone and still managing to get it back into the pits. You can see Donovan.
Not that far to go for Donovan. It's going to be a struggle to get that car back up there. We got a little bit of a shortcut up the hill. And he is doing what you should be doing in a situation like that, keeping your car as clear off track as possible. And the risk that he poses now is also to the engine of that vehicle, meaning that the engine may be incurring some of its own damage in his attempt to get it back to the pits. You don't want to retire if you don't have to, because it means a lack of points, a loss of points altogether. Through the kitty litter, that'll slow him down a bit.
Yeah, it does sound like he does have it in quite a higher gear, so he's not in first, so he should be.
That's good.
He should be saving that engine just a little bit. So just skimming through the positions here. So it is Sly Pete. He still leads here on a lap number 20 with just over 8.5 minutes to go. Colin, he's now into 2nd place with Peter Brunt in 3rd. Robert, a great effort there for him. He's up into 4th with Tyler in 5th. Paul Fenter in 6th place with Morris Jacobs in 7th. Richard Berner, he's in 8th. Donovan, the little engine that could, trying to get that car home to get repaired in 9th place. And Antonio in 10th position.
Peter is very, very comfortable up in 1st place. That's a massive gap, 46 seconds, and that is just under half a lap.
But what is so good to see is you'll see that, so Colin, Peter, and Robert, you can see 133.2, 133.6, 133.9. And then even Paul Fenter. Oh, there's someone off up on the top of the hill there. I think that is actually Paul. If we just jump to 6th place.
Let's see.
No, it's not Paul. So who?
Not Paul. Let's go through the order, see who it is.
Oh, there we
It
go.
may well have,
It is
it would have
Antonio.
been Antonio.
Yep. So he's going to have to get that car back into the pits.
You see, that car is pulling to the left quite significantly. So there's some pretty decent damage there. Although you can't necessarily see it on your screen, the realism of the damage is significant. And
that car's going to be pulling left and right.
There we go. Right-hand turn into the pits. Have to slow down, squeak of tires. Oh no! That's unfortunate.
That's going to add some more damage. And that's the thing, is you hit the brakes, there's no downforce in the front there. The alignment's out, and all the car does is just skid.
Move back up to the man in first while Antonio does what he needs to do. Oh, he has passed Donovan though. Yeah, well, he has passed Donovan because Donovan's in the pit with his imaginary pit team. There we go. Donovan on his way out, having bought himself a brand new front wheel. And he will be heading back out onto track to race the last 6 minutes of the Bravo tier race and tonight's action right here on SARCO. This is the Formula V8 3.5 litre league. And tonight's action very proudly, of course, brought to you by VX Gaming and the little courier company that could deliver your parcel.
So
and first coming past the entrance to pit lane, and there's Peter, 46 second rather gap between him and Colin in second. Notwithstanding the fact that Colin still has, I think, a 10-second penalty. So realistically, that is actually a 57-second gap.
Yep. And what time? I just wanted to be aware
Waiting's
of.
looking right now.
Sorry, is that 10 seconds? If you add the 10 seconds, that still means that Peter Brandt, he will still not be close enough to take a second place. So he just needs to keep it as it's going for the next 4.5 minutes, and he will find himself on the podium.
Absolutely. Looking at what might change up the finishing order a little bit is down between 5th and 6th. Tyler Scott, if we have a look at what's going on with the timings right now, Tyler Scott has got himself a 1 second, but Paul has got himself a 3-second penalty. So Marius might have a little bit of scope of moving up position.
If we look at those current times, is that gap is just about 3 seconds. So Paul's going to have to find himself a second there, and he will get himself up into 5th place. So Tyler has got everything to fight for now. Maybe we can just jump to a 5th and 6th and see what sort of battle's going to start coming up here. So currently you can see that the little timer, that's Paul, 2.1 second, now down to 1.9. So these guys have a battle, and that is going to be for a position.
Who's he passing? Was that Richard Berman, I think?
Yeah, that was one of the BRM2 guys. So just getting out the way there, very well done there, Richard. So I'm sure
he's at the core of the racing here.
This is where we're going to see whether Tyler is able to just hang on to the pressure being applied by Paul. They'll have 3 laps left. And all Paul needs to do is get himself within 2 seconds of Tyler's time, and Paul will get a 5th place.
Who are you rooting for? Or are you unbiased, Mr. Hall?
I am rooting for good, clean, close racing action. But looking at what's happening now, is Tyler's not making it very easy for himself, while Paul goes a little bit wide, so he might be off there.
No. Oh no, that was a bit of an awful pull. That's a big pity.
It looked like Paul touched the grass into the braking zone. So now he's found himself 6 seconds behind.
And that gap will surely increase. It looks like 6 seconds, as you say, is going to... No, he's dropping it now.
It looks like Paul
he's dropping it. That is now 5 seconds.
He is on an absolute rampage to try and catch Tyler within the next 2 laps or so. But he still needs to find just over 3 seconds.
Hopefully there's no damage that's been done to that car.
No, I think that with him just touching the dirt there, just spun him off. So he just had to rejoin. Oh, I love that little jump. Just coming down the hill there.
Looking at the times, if Paul is going to sit with a 133, see now. There you go, 140. Tyler with a 135. So Paul has got it all to do in what this will be, as far as I can see, his last lap.
It all depends on where Pete is, because if Pete is able to cross the line before that time runs out, these guys will be on another lap. So most definitely. So they will have to complete this lap plus this one that Pete is going to be doing, which means that it is a 26 lap race for these guys. So we'll just take note of that and compare that to what the Alpha guys do. In just over 5 minutes time, we should be ready there.
But Peter is on the last lap of this race right now. It will be, as you say, a 26 lapper. Peter's got nothing to worry about.
And
he's had a superb race, an uneventful race, which is exactly what you want.
And I must say that he has definitely fought this commentator's curse. So I'm going to be telling him he cannot claim that anymore, because... yeah.
I'm so sure.
Yes. I almost ate my words. Imagine what would have happened if he had lost that and put that into the wall. Oh my goodness. I don't think he would have ever spoken to me ever again. It would have been the day that Pete officially retired from SARCO racing.
So we're trying to keep viewers here, not get rid of them. Not get rid of our races either.
And I see that Paul's really struggling to close that additional time back on Tyler. So Paul is going to miss out there by about 2 seconds here on this final lap. But anything can still happen. Very aggressive going into turn number 4 by Paul.
That is the timer having run out now. So Paul is heading towards the finish.
Back up the hill now into turn number 8, and this tricky little section down into turn 9 and 10.
So that is Peter having crossed the finish line, meaning that the rest will follow shortly. There's Tyler. There's a 5-second gap, what you just saw on screen there. I beg your pardon, that is not a 5-second gap. He's closed that 5 seconds. That is 3 seconds now. That is 3 seconds now. Could it be? Could it be?
Oh, little kick of the rear, lock up of the rear. I think he's going to miss it by a couple of hundredths of a second here.
Possibly. I don't think Tyler's going to let it go that easily. Back up to 4 seconds on that gap. And across the finish is coming up now. There it is. Last of the 3 drivers behind. The valiant effort from Peter, meaning that he keeps his first place and the championship all but sealed for him right now in the Bravo tier. He is in first and he'll stay in first.
So just want to send out the invite to the guys to come and join us in the commentary box. But that is the final race positions. And we see Donovan landed up retiring there. So Sly Pete will come home in first place with Colin in second. Peter Brandt in third place with Roberts in fourth. Tyler Scott hangs on to that fifth place, keeping himself just ahead of Paul in sixth. Morris, he comes home in seventh place with Richard in eighth. And Antonio hangs on in there to come home in ninth place. And unfortunately, a retirement there for Donovan.
There you have it. That is the privateer done and dusted for tonight. Round 7.
So we're just waiting for the guys to come and join us in the commentary box. And Ross, don't forget to send that invite to Stephen and myself.
Yeah, I was static in the middle of the road. I spun. Oh, really? I thought it was. I don't know. I thought it was. And then.
There we go.
So we now have the guys that have now joined us. We're just wanting to get Peter Brandt, if you are there, come and join us in the commentary box. Colin, I just wanted to start with you. Coming out of the first two corners, we saw there was a little bit of a touch and you ran a little bit wide. Did you get yourself some damage there?
Hi, guys. Yeah, first of all, well done, Pete. Very good race there. And everyone else, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a bit of damage on the rear wing, but then it wasn't too bad. I just had a few slides here and there. But then later on, I got a little bit of a coconut from the back.
Thank you for choosing that choice word.
Yeah, I had about 34 damage on the rear, and it was just tricky. So I thought, let me rather go pit first, get it over and done with, and then I was done.
100%. And the tyre wear wasn't too bad there for you?
No, tyre wear front was a bit bad at the end, but look, it's obviously if you're a bit rough on the steering, that's the way it goes for you.
Yeah, 100%. And then Peter, a solid from start to finish, another win under the bag. Just take us through that race. We seem to have Peter frozen.
That's a pity.
Peter? Peter, can you hear us? So guys, unfortunately we cannot hear Peter, so we do hope that he might be able to just jump in and just give us some of his thoughts of that race while we're in the Alpha tier. But we now have been invited in. Just going to wait to get Stephen in. I'm going to accept the directors and the guys will get those thumbs up, and we will be racing in the Alpha tier in the next couple of minutes. That was what I was looking for. So Colin, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we have lost Peter, but Peter Hardeman, we will hopefully get you in a little bit later, and we'll chat to you then.
Thanks, Dylan. Excellent race, guys. Enjoy it. Good luck to the Alpha boys.
Awesome. I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Good race. Sorry, I missed all of that, but good race.
Yeah, we know that. So while we're just waiting for the guys to give us a go there, I'm ready. Stephen, I just want to make sure that you have accepted the director's role.
All good on my
I
end.
can go.
Okay, let's just get the... I just want to hear what's happening in the... Ross, I'm just confirming that we're good to go.
Yeah, man, I'm good to go. Can we go?
I didn't see whether Stephen was made the director.
Yeah, so you both ready up.
Okay, that's it. So Stephen, we are waiting for you. Thank you kindly. Let's go racing, guys.
Good luck, guys.
Okay, Peter, and now that the Alpha tier has officially started, so 15 drivers here join us for the round number 7, and it's going to be absolutely a fantastic racing here while the guys are getting out onto the track, out of the pits. Let's just bring up the current positions, and we can see that Christopher Radloff just about has this in the bag, even if he did not race these next two races, and Brandon won both of them. Christopher would still win by 16 points. Brandon in a second place. He also had a slow start to the season, so it would have been great to have given him fighting with Christopher a little bit more in the season. Ross for Project Cat Racing, he's up into third place with Jakes dropping down that order. He's now in fourth with the Silverback Racing driver Marius in 5th. Ashley, he's in 6th with Yugi's Finest, Craig in 7th, Marshall for Chasing Beavers in 8th, Alex the Bruff Rider, he's in a 9th place. Unfortunately, no Sean van der Linde here this evening. Lendl, he's in 10th, tied with Gavin, and O'Connor for Yugi's Finest down in 12th with Ronaldo in 13th, Sean down in 14th, and Stephen. And just for this evening, we do have a change where Troy, the shake and bake teammate for Stephen, has joined us here for the Alpha tier, filling up one of the gaps and allowing more space in that Bravo tier to kick in. And you can see the championship team points, the green numbers pulling away there. They also seem to have that in under wraps with Racing Boots in second, Yugi's Finest in third, and then a Project Cats in fourth, with the Silverback driver Marius in 5th place overall.
There should be some very, very good racing to come from the Alpha tier tonight. As we were saying during the Bravo tier, we will see probably a few more laps on the board. We'll probably see a bit more than 26 laps. I am going to take a guess and say that we will see in the region of 28 laps. I don't know what your bet would be, Dylan.
Yeah, 28 does seem a bit fair. It all depends on how hard the guys are pushing up front, and I know that Christopher's not the type that likes to go slowly, but there obviously is a time where if there isn't anybody behind you adding that pressure, that you are able to just slow the pace down a little bit, get yourself into rhythm so that you don't force any mistakes.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be. Oh wow! Oh dear! Oh, that's a big off.
Wow!
That's one very, very large off from Ross. I suspect that was possibly a connection issue, or maybe he just got sick and tired of driving at that very specific point in time.
Yeah, I don't understand what
And
happened there, but that definitely looked quite spectacular.
He will go back to the pits and he'll come out and he will keep on going.
So guys, if you are watching on the stream, come say how's it, drop us a message, tell us who you are rooting for. We generally love to hear from the fans out there, as well as the messages we do is send them through to the drivers.
There is the man that we have been watching dominate racing for the last few weeks. Oh, wow. That's very sideways. Commentators, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. It's happening all over. Maybe we should be looking at some of the other drivers. Although they'd probably hate us to come and talk about them either. Is Connor, youngest racer in the league, by quite some margin. He's still of school-going age.
Yeah, I'd love to say that my son is the youngest, but he hasn't been in it. Ooh. I think that's a bit of lag there from Connor, because
yes, and there.
I just hope this doesn't affect his race later on, and that he starts creating some issues with some of the other drivers. But I see Lendl, he's got himself up to a 1:28.6, so he's in second place with Brandon Hills in a third. Morris is in fourth place with Gavin in fifth, and it's so incredible to see how close Morris and Gavin have been this season. They're always within a place of each other, and as I say that, the Connor goes and puts himself between Gavin and Morris. Jakes is in 7th place with Marshall in 8th for now. Ronaldo, then Craig, and then you see every single one of those top 10 drivers in the 130s or less.
That's quite a significant difference to what we saw in the Bravo tier, where some of those times were in the region of about 131. So they have got quite a big lead in terms of times. You see a big difference.
I must say it's actually quite interesting with seeing the color of Lendl's car, is that in the Formula V that he drives, it is also a bright yellow Formula V. So you see that guys generally like to stick to specific colors.
Well, some people consider them to be lucky colors. So perhaps they wanted to keep them lucky. And they've been successful with that in real life. So why not use the same colors when you're doing some sim racing? Makes sense to me.
Yep. I cannot agree with you anymore.
Let's go down and see what's happening with Ronaldo down in 9th place. Been a pretty solid performer during this season's racing.
Yes, and it's
Maybe
so
tonight
good.
will be another one.
Ronaldo last year was racing with us, but he would literally come and enter every single race with us, but only be able to race about 3 or 4 of them out of the entire season due to his connection challenges. But it does seem like this year he's been able to get those sorted out. He spent some time with Ashley playing around with the port settings and router settings, and Ronaldo's had an absolute crack of a season.
Well, let's hope that if he joins us in the next season, those connection issues are well and truly banished, and that means that they won't be able to come up and interrupt any of Ronaldo's racing. Actually, is a wonder when it comes to the RT issues. There's no doubt about that.
There goes Marius, puts himself in a second place, 0.6 of Christopher's time there. And see, Lendl's also found himself a little bit of time now, 0.8 of a second between himself and Christopher. And Connor, boy oh boy, he's just gone and put himself in a 4th place ahead of Brandon Hills. So that's an absolute crack of a lap there for Connor. So 1.5 minutes to go.
Good thinking, good thinking. It's 1.5 minutes left of the qualifying session here. See where these guys will place on the board for the main event this evening. Who is that in the background?
That was Alex in the background. He was in 12th place. Recognize that Rough Rider livery. So he'll go straight on, trying to just get the car back to the pits.
0 coconuts given, shall we say?
That sounds about right.
So these guys will be wanting to put their last possible times on the board. There is Brandon Hills. But further down the order than I expected, especially since Connor
and I just hope that Connor's line stabilizes, because if that's the way he's going to be driving, I think the guys are going to get very, very nervous trying to get around him. So Brandon will come down into turn number 14 now out of 15. Let's see if he's able to improve and move himself further up, because a 5th and 6th place, we generally would say that that is the most dangerous positions on the pits. On the start-finish line, and Brandon moves himself up into 5th. So a 1.001 of a second behind the race leader, or the provisional pole. But Brandon has been able to get himself around. So, no, obviously had gone not faster in that first couple of corners, so he will go off, put himself in a 4th place. And Christopher, I see he's still going. I'm not sure how much faster he's expecting to go. Lendl in 3rd place with Brandon in 4th. Connor's in 5th place with Ronaldo in 6th, getting himself ahead of Gavin. Then Jake's in 8th place. I'm surprised to see him further down the field there. With Marshall in 9th, Craig 10th, being completely out-qualified by his younger teammate. Ashley, he's in 11th place for now, with Stephen in 12th, Alex in 13th, Troy in 14th, and Ross battling to get a lap together, so Ross will start from the back.
A pity from him. We did see he had that rather phenomenal off earlier down in the qualifying station, but let's see. Fingers crossed he is able to pull himself up. There's Stephen. He will start in 12th, as you just heard my co-commentator Dylan Hall saying, taking it very, very easy by the looks of it.
Yeah, that is officially the end of qualifying. So the guys will have 2 minutes now to put their settings together, choose their pit strategies, and we will be racing in the next 2 minutes or so.
If you are just joining us, you are live with the South African Racing Community Online, also known as SARCO, with myself, Stephen Darge, in the commentary box with the man who started it all, Dylan Hall. Tonight's action is proudly brought to you by VX Gaming, NASCOM, and Delivery Apostles. Please do check them out online. All great local companies that deserve your support.
Yeah, guys, and all the links to each of those companies are in the description below. Go down there, give them a support the brands that support SARCO, because this is what makes all this racing possible. So now we are waiting for the syncing. Once the syncing is done, we will be racing.
The order, you can see how absolutely precise the spacing is, courtesy of the wonders of technology.
Yep. And I just hope that these guys were watching what happened in the Alpha, in the Bravo tier, and learned how to give each other space. No crazy mistakes going into the first couple of corners, because it's not turn 1 or turn 2 or 3 that are the problem. It is going into turn number 5, because that's when the guys are getting a lot more speed, because they're exiting out of turn number 4 just about flat, coming out of turn number 3, and the guys are carrying a lot more speed there. And it's the running a bit wide into turn 6 rejoining on the track, and we have seen some really big accidents happening onto 7 in the past league, so I'm sure that the guys will be aware of that.
Be cautious, no doubt about that.
So that was the sinking that we have been waiting for. That's 1, 2, 3 red lights. It is green, and we are racing here at Imola. And once again, Christopher gets a great start. Just not sure how he's able to consistently keep doing that. You see the little flicker of Connor's car in the background there. And then there's a car flying up in the air.
There are cars everywhere here. I'm trying to scroll through the list to see who.
So I can see Brandon, Lendl, and Connor are all the way down. So I'm just hoping that was not... That's Lendl now having to retire. Absolute disaster there for Lendl. And I just hope that it wasn't due to lag.
Somebody's lagging quite. That is Connor. That's unfortunate. Has he still got his front splitter attached? He has. I wonder if that little incident coming into turn 3 was as a result of Connor's vicious lag. You can see it now.
I do think that Connor's going to unfortunately be disconnecting here because that lag is absolutely crazy. But let's just jump further up the field there.
Last gap already, 1.8 seconds for Christopher, experiencing a very slight amount of lag himself.
But where the action is currently happening is a little bit further down between Marshall, Jakes and Craig. There's the green Mamba starting to close down on the back of Marshall. Marshall up into 4th place for the Chasing Beavers. But now Jakes will move to the inside. Looks like Jakes will have the run. He decides to rather let Marshall go into turn number 2.
Just knocking on Marshall's front door just to say, hey, who's here?
Yeah, indeed.
I'm not coming in just yet. Trust me, pal, I'm right here. Is anybody home by the looks of it? And I think that was the result. We'll have to see whether Marshall experiences another bearing down from behind by Jakes.
And also Ross, he started in last place. He's up into 9th, and he's starting to put a bit of pressure on the rear of Alex, who's in 8th. So that there in the picture is Ross coming through turn number 9, now up into turn number 10.
You see the 3 drivers as well who were involved in that earlier altercation. Brandon Hills, he's just come out of the pit now, as well as Ronaldo on his way out. And Connor, I think he may have gone to the pits to try and get his internet line serviced. But hopefully there will be no further lag from him.
Also, just watching his car, it does seem to not be jumping all over the place.
No, not so certain. Not so certain. Yeah, no, he's still got those issues. Significantly, wow. Oh dear.
Yeah, that's definitely going to cause some trouble for the guys in front of him. But now Connor must remember that he is about to be lapped by the guys behind him.
That's rotten. Whoa. That is the only significant disadvantage when it comes to online racing. But we will jump back to what's going on up top. Further up the order, we can see what's happening between Craig and Ashley. Second between those two.
So yeah, that's Connor unfortunately is looking like an absolute moving chicane there as he now lets Marshall go through. That is his teammate now right behind him. Oh
no.
A little mistake there for Craig. Looks like he just locks up those rears and he will just get himself ahead of Ross. But now Ross should have the exit speed, the straight line advantage, having the DRS open, but will he defend now into turn number 14? Craig's nearly a little bit wide. You can see got up into that curb, so that could have been a little bit of a hairy moment for him.
Coming down the order, he has just moved into the pits. Whether that is reason because of damage, or he's deciding to get his pit stop out of the way nice and early so he can spend the rest of the race racing properly. It's not a bad strategy, actually. No. You take that pressure off before you put yourself in a really, really good position that you don't want to lose, and you have to remember, I need to pit. And that can really take some big bites out of your rhythm. And it means that you have to lose that position that you have fought so hard to get and then maintain during the race, or because of a pesky pit stop. So get it out of the way. Oh, wow.
That's Connor still lagging quite badly there, so we're going to have to ask him to please give Ashley a call, because you can see him going through Ashley himself.
It's just stop motion. It's just stop motion, that's all. Stop motion video. That's what we're watching.
See Connor pulling well off the side of the circuit there.
Obviously quite aware of the fault with his internet line, but anyway.
Back to the racing action. Yep.
There is Ashley being chased down by Alex just behind him, and Alex is being chased down by Craig, who in turn is being chased down by Stephen. All of the action right now between 6th to 9th places.
And Ashley, just before the race, was saying that he wasn't feeling very comfortable in this car. He hadn't been able to spend too much time getting those laps together. But now looking at a 134 being chased down by Stephen and Alex, is that Ashley's going to have to get a move on, or else he's going to have two drivers overtaking him.
Yes, if he tries to take up unnecessary space and does not let faster drivers past him, he will get a blue flag. And ignorance of a blue flag is a punishable offence too.
Yep.
And that punishable offence is penalties.
Penalties. We don't like giving penalties, but if they have to, the game does sort them out. But generally, the drivers, they are aware of the blue flags, and they do allow the faster guys to go through. Just
speaking of penalties, right now we can have a quick look at the timing board to see who is there. Ashley with a 1 second.
Alex.
That's all we can see for the moment at 1 second. Alex with a 1 as well. And Stephen with a 1. There we are. And Brandon, fortunately, he has got a 1 second. That is a bit of a surprise. And Ronaldo with a 2 second penalty. You see a number of guys are experiencing connection issues. Hopefully that doesn't persist. Those guys with connection issues, primarily Connor down in 14th place, Ross in 11th, and Alex in 7th. Hopefully it doesn't mean it disconnects, because that is an unfortunate way to end a race. Anyway, that is the timing standings at the moment regarding the penalties. See in the top left-hand corner of your screen right now where these guys stand time-wise. It is Christopher in the lead with a blistering 129.2. That time will surely drop as the race goes on. And as it stands right now, that's about 2 to 3 seconds faster than the best drivers in the Bravo tier. Second is Marius with a 130, almost dead. Likewise for Gavin. Jake's coming in with a 131, and Marshall rounding off the top 5 with a 131.9. So not much in it between the top 5 drivers.
Yeah, what is going to interest me is the guys going in for the pit. So we know that the 3 guys at the bottom, so Brandon, Ronaldo and Connor, they've all pitted, but it's all depending on what's going to happen up at the top. as Alex starts closing down the back of Ross. And Marshall, he's had a very good race so far in 5th place. We saw him going past at the bottom of the screen while we are just having a look at Ashley and Alex. You see that battle a little bit further back because Alex is putting a massive pressure on the back of Ashley.
Marshall finds himself in a bit of a sweet spot. He hasn't got an enormous amount of worries coming from Ashley, who is about 6 seconds behind.
Can we just jump to Ashley? I just want to see where Alex is. There we go.
Oh, that's a mounting of the curb. That was quite tall. So be careful of a move like that. That can damage underbody components. It can also damage suspension and notoriously that front splitter, which is an absolutely crucial part of these cars. A little bit running wide there. You can see right now Ashley really feeling the pressure from Alex. Next couple of turns going to be the decider. Let's go on board with Alex and get a feel. There we are. You can see some real close racing action there.
Oh, he's
And
going to have a look to the inside.
Let's see how
That's extremely dangerous, but he's made that
got
move stick. Great maneuver there for Alex. Great awareness there for Ashley, seeing that Alex was going to go and attack him there, and he did allow him to go through, giving him the space that was required. So great awareness, a great move there for Alex.
There is a change at the bottom of the order as well. You can see Connor has moved up 1 place ahead of Ronaldo, but still a decent way behind Brandon. And that's not a great start to the race for Brandon this evening. Oh dear, was that Marshall? It wasn't Marshall who was going across the yellow car. I'm scrolling through the order to find out who that was. That was Brandon.
That was Brandon.
He's having a torrid race. He has lost his front splitter. He's going to be taking it very easy to get that car back to the pits. As we see, somebody else was that. No, that was fine. Probably had a little bit of sliding action there. Luckily, not far to go for Brandon. Ooh.
Well, that car is not looking pretty.
Demonstrating how difficult it is to control when it has such a significant amount of damage. It's going to take quite some time to repair. And for Brandon, second on the race standings at the moment, it's really a horrible way to start out the penultimate race in the series.
Stephen, can we just jump to 6th and 7th? I'm seeing that the times between these guys have not changed. So while Alex has got ahead, Ashley is fighting him, which is exactly what we like to see. We like to see the guys getting up close and personal, having a great race with each other. So they'll head now towards turn number 11. I see Alex taking a much tighter entry. A little wide there for Ashley. That's where that runoff time penalty generally would get added. So I'm surprised that he's going so wide.
Well, that gap opening up very slightly. But it remains to be seen who has the real pace going through the corners. We'll see now. At the start of a fresh lap, this will be lap number 10, both Alex and Ashley. Out to turn 1 and 2, there is turn 3. He'll be trying everything he can to open that gap, while Ashley's trying everything he can to close it.
I see a lot of the guys take the inside curb there going into turn number 6, and Alex is staying well away from it. So that's quite interesting to see.
Well, we can get an idea of the speeds these guys are going. Already 200 kilometers an hour coming down the hill. That's quick.
So Stephen, we have unfortunately lost Stephen. I see that we are down to 13, and knowing that we had 15 drivers, Lendl needing to retire. So we have lost Stephen Smith. He's no longer in the lobby. So very unfortunate that for Stephen.
Yep, Shake and Bake having another torrid evening. It's just 20 points on the log. It means that they won't be adding anything to that total tonight. Maybe they'll get lucky next week.
So Alex now starting to pull a gap away from Ashley. 3.2 seconds. So we'd have to go and find another battle, but maybe let's just check in with our race leader, and hopefully he can take us for a tour around the Imola circuit.
What I am looking at, we're going to keep an eye on it, but what I'm looking at is that something is emerging between Troy and Ross down in 9th and 10th position. In fact, we'll go right there right now.
I'm happy to go there now. So knowing that Troy is ahead, they are driving the same livery. It was a mistake on my side, not checking the liveries before I told Troy to join them, because Stephen and Ross drive with the same livery, but obviously we got Troy who's now come to join his teammate, and I said he must just take his livery as we see him going a little bit wide into turn number 3. Ross starting to close up that gap, and just behind Ross, that is Craig. So Craig is 5 seconds behind them. Oh no, that is Christopher, the race leader. Oh, little flick of the rear, it touched the grass there.
That has resulted in a change of position. Ross moving up. Troy is having some issues with that car, I suspect. It did look a little bit twitchy.
Yeah, he's definitely not getting their car to turn in like it should be.
So I will not be surprised if we see Troy going into the pits. Coming out of this at number 11 for them.
So I see Craig has just put himself into the pit, so I have made a note of that, so we can review a little bit later. So Ross, Troy and Connor will be the ones that would be behind him that we need to keep our eye on.
Yeah, despite all of the that's very wide for Troy. Oh, shame. He must be having significant issues keeping that car in check. And will he be going to the pits? He will not. That is an interesting maneuver. I wonder if it is not so much car problems as it is driver problems.
We must just remember that he is currently on a controller, as Craig, he will exit the pits now behind Troy and Ross, knowing that Ross and Troy still need to put in a pit stop.
Getting back to what I was going to say just now, is that the man experiencing significant connection issues, they seem to have cleared up, because he's putting in great times now. That car is moving smoothly.
Nope, that's still a little bit of lag there.
Still there. That's still a 132 in comparison with everybody else. That's not far off the pace, considering that Gavin, Jakes, Ashley also putting in 132s, as is Brandon Hill. The 133, all to do for this man. Luckily, he has got a bit of a buffer when it comes to the point standings, and Ross is in 3rd. So if Ross stays where he is in 8th, and Brandon can move up 2 positions or so, then things won't change very much on the overall points standings in the driver championship.
So I see we are down to 12 drivers. That means we have lost another one. Ronaldo. He is no longer with us. Oh, no, he is.
That has been a common problem with Ronaldo as well.
Oh, no, Ronaldo is not there, so RVR is out. Sorry, Ronaldo, because here we've got Brandon, who's currently in 12th, and we see on that times driver behind him is Ronaldo. So unfortunately, Ronaldo has been kicked in. I wonder if that disconnection also talks about commentator's curse. Now with 20 minutes left to go.
Well, it looks like Mr. Radloff has completed his pit stop.
So I see
making
lots
him
and lots of
29
guys
seconds behind.
coming into the pits.
Keeping note.
Yep, I see Troy also went into the pits, so that is Marshall and Jakes going into the pits together. And Marshall's actually ahead of Jakes. It must be just because where Marshall is on the pit lane that possibly caused that.
So what we're seeing now is the fact that Marius is 28 seconds ahead of Christopher. So if Marius still needs to go in pit, that pit stop of his from start to finish, that means entering the pit lane until exiting the pit lane needs to be 28 seconds or less to hold on to that first place.
This pit lane is one of the most frustrating because it is very, very long. As we see Gavin, now he goes into the pits, which means
so we're expecting
Ashley,
to see Christopher overtake Gavin.
So Ashley and Alex, they still need to pit. Marius still needs to pit, and Ross, according to my calculations, Ross hasn't pitted. So there you'll see that Alex now moves up into third place, knowing that he would still need to pit, and he will obviously rejoin the track somewhere around where Ashley is. Knowing that Alex was a couple of seconds ahead of Ashley. So it's going to be very interesting when Alex rejoins. Where will Ashley be on track?
So something to keep in mind as well is if has any damage to his car and whether he opts to get that damage repaired when he does visit the men in pit lane.
No, I don't think that Christopher's going to have any damage, eh?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm talking about Marius. No, not Christopher.
Oh,
not Christopher. No. If Marius has any damage and he opts to get it fixed, that obviously extends his pit time. If he doesn't have any damage, then it would just be a simple little tire and fuel change.
I don't even think the guys would be putting tires on because the wear on the tires has been very low. So what the guys could possibly be doing is a splash and dash where you put in 1 liter, and that is effectively the fastest pit stop that you can do versus 7 seconds for the tires.
Well, then all it is possibly a little addition to the fuel tank. Keep the cars running nice and light. So what Marius needs to do is make sure his pit stop is less than 27.5 seconds at this time. But I'm pretty sure Christopher is aware of that.
So Alex is in the pits. I wonder where he will come out because he has got Gavin, Jakes, Marshall and Ashley closing him down. So there, Alex now drops down to 4th place. Next in the row is Jakes, just over 9 seconds behind him now.
You've got to keep an eye out for when Marius will head into the pits. I want to jump down to see what's happening in 6th and 7th place between Marshall and Ashley.
So Alex has come out of the pits ahead of Jakes.
Hang on. We need to head up here. We're going to have potential change in the race leader. There it is. There's Marius heading into the pits. And he hasn't even started his pit stop yet. And look at that gap. It's falling quite significantly. I think Christopher is safe Yeah, that was a splash and dash of notes. Spin of the tires on the way out.
So you can hear,
Will-
here comes Christopher. But what I was saying
Here he
earlier,
is.
Stephen, is that Jakes is behind Alex. So Alex has been able to jump himself ahead of Jakes and Marshall in that pit stop.
The strategy is the result.
So
That
Peter
is the
Heidemann,
result,
if
should I
you
say.
are watching, what was Alex's pit stop? How on earth did he manage that?
Or there's also the possibility that Jake's pit stop was longer to fix other issues with the car.
But it just shows how important these pit stops are, and that you're not taking on any damage, and you're keeping that pit stop as short as possible, because Alex, great effort there, found himself 2 places in that pit stop.
Keeping a very close eye as well, going out from the bottom of the order, being Mr. Brandon Hills. He had a 130 on his previous lap. Most recent lap was a 131, which is not far. In fact, it's right on pace. Right on pace.
I think all that Brandon needs to do is just bring this car home and take some points with him, because if he scores 0 points here, what that does is it allows the likes of Jakes and Ross to close up that gap for the last race. So currently, if Jakes is in 5th place, Jakes will get 28 points. So Jakes will then be within a pouncing pace of Brandon, and that means that he might actually lose his 2nd place overall. Ross will score like 10 points ahead of Brandon now. So that gap will come down to just under 50. So what Brandon needs to do, bring this car home, and then at least he has himself a little bit of a buffer for that last race.
And then as long as that last race is smooth sailing, and he either gets himself, or he must get himself a podium, but if he gets himself a decent podium, then he'll be on the podium for the championship.
So that last race is going to be an absolute cracker. We are sticking to the likes of the Formula 1 calendar. I'll say calendar, but the Formula 1 type tracks. And we will be going to a Spa Francorchamps for the final round. That will be next week, Thursday, the 30th of July.
Looking forward to that race. It should be a cracker. Spa is one of the fastest circuits in the world. It's quite a long circuit, so lots of space for lots of activities in these cars. It is also one of the most beautiful circuits, and possibly one of the most iconic as well.
Just
But
jump
tonight
to
we are at
5th
Imola.
place there, please. I'm seeing 5th, 6th, and 7th. If we can just jump outside. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. So there's 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place. So 4 places getting very close to each other as Marshall gets that braking zone a little bit wrong. It looked like Craig moved up onto the inside. Marshall didn't see him coming and locked up the rears, trying to avoid some contact there. So Marshall now down into 8th. He was doing so well, sitting in 5th place. Now he's going to have a almighty battle to get himself back up there. And he's going to have 4 drivers to get himself around. And that is Ashley, who's starting to find him a little bit of rhythm. So while his times have not been the quickest, he definitely has been one of the most consistent.
So just a 1 minute 12 at this stage, with a 1 minute 14 being the respective gaps. We may well see
Oh,
a change in the order.
big
Yeah,
moment
who was
there.
that?
There was a big moment there for Ross. That car slapped left, slapped right, and he just managed to catch it, because that would have possibly gone the wrong way and put him into the wall. But I'm glad that Ross was able to catch that.
Up the hill and over, you can get an idea of what kind of gap we're dealing with here. If we go to a cockpit view, we'll jump on board. Ross, see the other driver's not even in sight. Unfortunately, 3-second gap. And a circuit with lots of twisties like this. A gap now 4 seconds between Ross and Craig as Ross comes down pit straight over the start line and into lap number 20.
Oh, just love that backfire sound.
Well,
We
this
can
is
just
a
jump
3.5 litre V8.
to Craig, because it looks like he's starting to close down on Ashley. So in real life, these guys do race karts together down in East London. So I'm sure they're gonna want to be battling each other. Just looking, Peter said that the tires and fuel is that his pit stop was without repairs was 10.4 seconds with fuel and tires. So
That's quick.
it definitely looks like what Alex might have done is just done a splash and go. Opted not for any tires, just put in 1 liter, and then that pit stop is essentially 5 seconds, and that would have explained how he managed to get himself 5 seconds ahead of the other drivers. But now I see Jakes is down in 9th place, so definitely something has gone on there.
Well, his car looks intact. Maybe damage you and I. Oh dear.
Oh, that's Marshall. A little bit too happy with the accelerator there. Man, oh man, oh man. Got it a little bit sideways coming out of turn number 7.
He was happily sitting up in 5th. That's a great pity.
I'm sure Marshall is going to be so frustrated with himself.
Oh, he'll be kicking himself big time. Look, at least there is an enormous gap between him and Troy. More than a minute. So he doesn't necessarily got to worry about that. But who is that behind him?
That's Brandon. Yep, Brandon's trying to unlap himself, yep. As you can see, Brandon is just about 1 minute 20 behind Marshall, as Marshall goes deep into turn number 14. So we can just
that's a big pity.
Jump back to a 6th place there, because that's Craig and Ashley still within sight of each other.
7 minutes to go, so not a lot of time to execute any moves these guys are wanting to pull. One last comment on what I can see with Brandon and Troy. Brandon may be able to salvage a bit more points than he would if he just stayed in 12th. That is, if he can close that 5-second gap between himself and Troy.
With 4 laps to go,
It's unlikely that he'll be able to make up a minute.
well, with 4 laps to go, it looks like Brandon might be able to actually get himself ahead of Troy, because that's now.
Well, I think it's certainty now.
You can just jump there to Brandon, and I'm sure that we'll actually see an overtake happening very soon.
You know, Brandon is the faster of the Hills brothers.
Well, in this series, yes, I'm sure it's they'll be arguing this point till the cows come home.
We'll have to see what happens. There was the overtake. In case you missed it, that was Tabasco Troy falling victim to Brandon Hill's O2, meaning that Brandon will be salvaging a bit more points in the standings, and he won't be able to make up that full minute and 10 seconds, 20 seconds, I beg your pardon, between him and Marshall in the next 5 minutes and 35 seconds.
So
But
I must say that
I think
that the poor guys up at the top there. So Christopher hasn't had much airtime. Marius has had an absolute fantastic race. They managed to get out of the trouble going into the first couple of corners, as well as Gavin in third place. He'll be really, really looking forward to getting this car home and taking that podium. This will be his second podium here in the series, so great drive there for him.
well, with the gap between Marius and Gavin now standing at about 11 seconds, just under 5 minutes to go of this race. All Marius needs to do is hold on tight. Gavin will no doubt be looking to try and close that gap. In fact, let's have a look and see where he is. All looking good.
Yeah, but with 12 seconds between the two of them, just under 12 seconds now, I don't think Gavin has got any reason to be pushing. All he needs to do is just bring that car home.
Yeah, absolutely. Action right now is still between Ashley and Craig. Let's jump right there right now. Where just 0.03 of a second splits these two drivers. Gap opening up a little bit more now to about a second. Being taken coming into that turn from the long back straight.
Stephen, if you can just bring up the penalties quickly. I just want to see how much of a penalty Ashley's got, because that might be why Craig is just hanging himself there. 7-second penalty for Ashley. So that means so Ross won't be able to get up there, but Craig doesn't need to push. Craig has secured himself that 5th place. So I think that's probably where Craig will stay for the remainder of this race.
Yep, the problem is that sometimes guys get a little bit greedy and they want to try and move up the rankings. That's when mistakes start to happen, especially at this late stage in the race. So, let's see if Craig can get himself into 5th. And a sequence of poor moves by Ashley is what is the result. Is the result, should I say, of that penalty.
I've just seen Vaughan Hills' comment coming up on the stream and just going, yeah. Fastest hills on the planet.
Oh, let's see. The next series might change that, won't it? They like a little bit of sibling rivalry.
Yep.
It's the Schumacher brothers.
Well, there you go. So that's Craig just... Ashley, excuse me, getting out of the way, which means that Craig has made a mistake, because now Craig is down 9 seconds between himself and Ashley.
How on earth? Bizarre.
It looks like he's spun coming into turn number 12.
2 minutes to go. He better close that gap. He needs to find at least 3 seconds. It's more now.
And this is where he has got, I'd say, about 2 laps left. He's got to go and find, it's now 3.5 seconds. Man, oh man, that's going to be one of those moments that Craig is going to remember, and I'm sure he's going to be kicking himself for that.
Well, I'm sure Ashley is now aware of the fact that Craig has dropped back a bit. Let's see. We'll keep our view on Craig for the moment. Hope that the infamous curse does not strike. Let's see if Craig can bring it down. He's got 9 seconds there now. Let's see if he can find another 3 seconds. Ashley will no doubt be pedal to the metal as well. In the 9-second region, this is going to be where we will stay for the rest of the race. Christopher in first, a dead cert to come in now with the win. Marius in second, 30 seconds behind the race leader, and Gavin on in third, another 35 seconds behind Marius. That is your podium finish, I think. in this, the Alpha Tier
So
race.
if we can just jump
Keep it here.
Can we just jump to Christopher? I just want to see where he is on the track.
He's going to get one more lap in.
So we'll get one more lap in, which means that these guys only did 27 laps versus the Bravo tier in 26 laps. And that was quite close to the end there. So not too many laps. So that's 30 seconds. That's, so you can say about 3 seconds a lap difference.
Oh, if you're not, oh no. That's disastrous. It's disastrous.
Oh, that car is not happy. The touch of the wall there.
It's very, very out of character. I wonder what happened. So, 29 seconds separate him and Marius. I've just seen a change in order. Wait a minute. We have a new third place.
You're right.
Alex has just moved
Alex.
ahead.
And it looks like Gavin has lost the front wing.
Gavin must have had a big off this late stage. And Craig has moved it up a little bit. 8 seconds.
Oh, that's Gavin without a front wing. So something has happened, and that's allowed Alex to close up. So Alex is now moving himself into third place.
Oh, this could be tight. It's very... no, he's got it.
No, so that's Marshall. He was a lap down there from Gavin because Ashley is 10 seconds behind Gavin. So Gavin's going to have to nurse this car around for one more lap without that front wing. I'm sure that's going to be extremely difficult for him, knowing that Ashley, you can see that gap already down to 9 seconds.
Look at what's happening in 5th and 6th as well. Craig has closed that gap by 4 seconds.
So
wow, there's now only 4 seconds.
So
it's finished.
So Craig hadn't crossed the line before Ashley had rating is Gavin, or possibly even Ashley.
He's going at it.
So Gavin's position is safe. All he needs to do is just bring it home, because now Ashley would have crossed the line behind Christopher. And that's why that gap, you can see, is still opening up 21 seconds. It will go up to 22 seconds. There it goes. Because now Ashley would have been on the slowdown lap. So Gavin secures a 4th place. But man, oh man, that is not what Gavin would have been wanting. Unfortunately, and losing a front wing, having an off in the second last lap, and that essentially cost him his podium, which means that Alex, for the Rough Riders, he finds himself in 3rd.
No doubt a surprise for him. No doubt at all.
So that is Gavin, the last driver on the track.
And going across the finish line in about 3, 2, 1, and there he is. Just in time. Our final standings for this evening in the Alpha Tier race is Christopher in 1st. Arias finds home in 2nd place, while Alex, a surprise, him no doubt, coming in 3rd, which rounds off your podium. Gavin must be kicking himself big time.
Well done, Alex.
Coming down at 4th.
Very well done, Alex.
Christopher's dirty air caught me out in that first S-bend.
So Alex, Christopher, and Morris, can we have you in the Discord, please?
I'll be right there. Let's see, how do we do?
And then Ross, if you could just save that replay, please. Oh, did you save the replay, I should say?
I don't think anyone got time to save it.
Very good racing there in the Alpha Tier. A couple of surprises towards the end. But that the standings are going to be shaken up a little bit, I think. We will find out shortly when the results are published by my co-commentator, Mr. Dylan Hall.
Yes, indeed. So we're just waiting for the guys to join us in the commentary box. And I must say that Alex's pit stop really, really served him well.
Absolutely. No doubt about that.
Hello, guys.
Marius, how are you?
Oh, I'm tired. I can tell you that. It was an extremely hard race to ride. That was very hard.
I can only imagine.
I'm sure you had fun out there anyway.
So let's start off with Alex. Man, oh man, a little mistake there from Gavin with this on the second last lap. Allowed you to move up into third, but it was your pit stop that we found gave you 2 places, and you managed to get yourself ahead of Jakes and Ashley. Take us through your pit stop.
Nah, you know, man, I just figured out, shit, I put too much gas in the tank, so why not go on, you know, and yeah, it pounded out good, you know. So I was very, very happy when I came onto track and saw all the places I've gained, that's for sure. Absolutely.
No, 100%. Very, very well done there, Alex, and your first official podium place here on SARCO for the Formula Renaults.
Yeah, it feels good. The competition is from another planet, you know. So yeah, it feels amazing. Absolutely, I'm shaking, you know, really shaking. This is good.
No,
It went in your race, absolutely.
I've never heard you so nervous, Alex. Don't worry, you only laugh to the world.
This is good. This is good. I'm not gonna sleep tonight. I promise you that.
No, awesome. And then Morris, a pretty quiet race for you. You got yourself between Gavin and Christopher, but just put those laps in and just kept circulating.
Yeah, I soon saw that I was not going to be able to catch him. I realized that within the first 10 laps because I had quite heavy fuel. I thought I was going to run a little bit longer, and then I went in actually a lap or 2 earlier than what I thought I would because I thought, okay, my strategy is null and void because he's too far ahead.
Yeah.
I got lots of guys, back markers I had to slow down for into corners. I just caught them, unfortunately, at the wrong places.
No, 100%.
Which lost me. But the pace was relentless. I mean, the times where I tried to see if I could close the gap, it just stays the same. And that's very frustrating if you see you make no inroads into someone. So, but it was a very hard, good race. It was good. Well done, Christopher. That was perfect.
No, awesome.
Thanks, bud.
And then Christopher,
Absolutely. Very, very good race.
We do need to find out what is the secret for your starts, because you seem to get off the line so quickly, and I'm sure there's lots of guys out there saying, how do we do that?
Dylan, it's very easy. It's just called flat out.
Fair enough, and I should have expected that, right?
Absolutely.
Just quickly, take us through the last lap, coming out of the hairpin, turn number 7, and you landed up going up against the wall.
So the whole race, my first stint, I was very happy with, very sublime pace, very, very consistent, and knew I could do a 28.5, 28.4 on race pace. So a little bit irritated with myself in the second stint that I didn't go quick enough, or as quick as what I wanted to. And on the second last lap, I pushed on the second last lap. I didn't have any traffic, so I thought, well, let me try. Did a 28.9, and then I thought to myself, last lap, let's go for it. Let's see what we can do. And I just pushing a bit too hard, ran onto the curbs, and it just decided to pull me towards the wall. And then from there, I just thought, okay, let's just back out and drive slowly and finish the race. But,
we thought
other
that it
than
was
that-
incredibly out of character. We thought to ourselves, no, there must be something wrong here. You hit the wrong button on your steering wheel.
Couldn't you have done that earlier in the race, man?
Heart failure.
Yeah.
It was very hard. It was a hard race just to not hit the penalties.
Yeah.
First of all, I had to slow down on several occasions not to get a time penalty, and they make you slow down quite a lot.
Yeah, the penalty here and the director is a very, very harsh here. That's for sure.
Very.
So to keep on that line, it was very hard, and I could also not hit the times that I thought I could hit on race pace.
Yeah.
It was very harder than what I thought it was going to be. But
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
It was awesome. It was great racing. And to you, Alex, for your first podium. Congratulations, man. Great strategy there. Morris and Christopher, once again, thank you very much, guys.
Cool, guys.
Thank you. Well done to everyone. That was a great race. Thanks.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye, Alex.
Bye.
So thank you very much, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. To Stephen, thank you so much for joining me in the commentary box once again. And man, oh man, spending some time with Ernest, that was pretty awesome. Yeah,
absolutely. Hopefully we can welcome him back here next week for some more commentary. It's always nice to have some guests up here in the box with us. Brings a bit of variety in and brings some different opinions as well. And hopefully next week's racing will be just as good as tonight's racing. We will see some more action coming your way. And it is the final race of the season.
Yeah.
It's round number 8. It is coming to you live from Spa-Francorchamps, live from Belgium as well. That's going to be some amazing racing coming out there in one of what is arguably one of the best Formula One tracks on planet Earth.
I couldn't agree with you more. I absolutely love that track, and I'm really looking forward to getting some practice in with the guys, finding out what the lines are that the guys will be taking, and at least we'll be able to give you as much of that detailed information. So next week, guys, don't forget that, and we will be back on Monday in the almost said the Renault, but in the group the group A's. Yeah. And just tune in 8 o'clock. That too will be around number 7, and that one is going to be an absolute cracker. Looking forward to that race. And Stephen, thank you very much. I bid you farewell, and to everyone on the stream, thank you so much for the support. Remember that this series is proudly brought to you by VX Gaming, NASCOM, and Deliver Your Parcel. Please go check out the links in the descriptions below. These are the brands that support SARCO, and this is what makes everything all possible. So thank you. And Stephen, have a great evening further, and we'll see you on Monday.
Bye.
And until then, thanks for watching. Yos.